The slap never landed. The Korean Mafia boss's hand was already midair, veins tight, eyes burning with rage as the entire room held its breath. The maid stood frozen in front of him, her head slightly bowed, waiting for the pain she had learned to expect. Then, a small hand grabbed his wrist. Don't. The word wasn't loud. It wasn't desperate. It was calm. Too calm. Every guard in the room stiffened. The boss slowly turned his head, his expression shifting from anger to disbelief as he looked down. A little boy, no more than 5, standing between him and the woman. "If you touch her," the boy continued, his voice steady, his eyes locked onto the most feared man in the house, "you'll regret it." Silence crashed into the room. Then someone laughed. A guard. Nervous, confused. But the laughter died instantly when the boss didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even blink. Instead, his gaze hardened, not with anger this time, but something else, something colder. "You," the boss said slowly, his voice dangerously low, "just touched me." The boy didn't let go. Behind him, his mother whispered, her voice shaking, "Kai, please, let go." But Kai didn't move. "Apologize," the boss said. The room waited. Kai tilted his head slightly, studying him like he was trying to understand something. "No." A sharp inhale echoed across the room. The boss pulled his hand free, not violently, but with controlled force. His eyes never left the child. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes," Kai replied instantly. "And you're still standing here?" Kai nodded. The boss's lips curled slightly, not to a smile, but something close to it. "Interesting." He turned his attention back to the maid, his voice suddenly louder. "This is your son?" She dropped to her knees immediately. "Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. He's just a child. He doesn't understand." "He understands enough to threaten me." The guards shifted. The tension grew thicker. Kai stepped forward again. "I'm not threatening you," he said. "I'm warning you." That did it. One of the guards moved forward aggressively. "Boss, let me—" "Stop." The command cut through the room like a blade. The guard froze instantly. The boss crouched slightly, bringing himself closer to Kai's level. His eyes searched the boy's face, looking for fear. He found none. "Why are you not afraid of me?" he asked. Kai didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at his mother, still kneeling, trembling, then back at the boss. "Because I've seen you before." That was it. Something changed. Subtle, but real. The boss's expression flickered for just a second. "Where?" he asked. Kai shrugged lightly. "You don't remember everything." The room felt colder. The boss stood up slowly, his posture straightening as he looked down at the boy again. "What's your name?" "Kai." "And your mother?" "Her name is Amara." The boss nodded once, then turned away. "Take them back to their quarters." No one moved. Not because they didn't hear him, because they didn't understand. "Did I stutter?" he snapped. The guards quickly stepped in, helping Amara to her feet. She grabbed Kai tightly, whispering urgently, "What have you done? Why would you say that? Do you want us killed?" Kai just looked back at the boss as they were led away. The boss didn't turn around, but his mind wasn't on anything else. That night, the mansion didn't feel the same. The servants whispered more quietly. The guards watched more closely. And in a dark office at the top floor, the boss sat alone, replaying the moment over and over again. "I've seen you before." The words wouldn't leave his head. It wasn't what the boy said. It was how he said it. Like it wasn't a guess. Like it was a fact. He picked up a glass, swirling the drink inside slowly. "Find out everything about that boy," he said without looking up. A shadow near the door nodded. "Yes, boss." "And the mother." A pause. "Especially the mother." Back in the servant quarters, Amara paced the small room, her hands shaking. "You cannot speak to him like that. Do you understand me? That man, he doesn't forgive, he doesn't forget." Kai sat calmly on the bed, swinging his legs slightly. "He didn't hit you." "That's not the point." "It is." She stopped pacing. He looked up at her. "He didn't hit you," Kai repeated softly. Amara's anger faded, just a little. "That doesn't mean he won't next time." Kai tilted his head. "There won't be a next time." Amara stared at him. There it was again. That calmness, that certainty. "Why do you talk like that?" she asked quietly. Kai didn't answer. Instead, he lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. "Because I know things," he said finally. A chill ran through her. "What things?" Kai turned his head toward her slowly. "Things he doesn't want anyone to know." Amara's heart skipped. "Kai, what are you talking about?" But the boy just smiled faintly. And for the first time since they arrived at the mansion, Amara felt something she couldn't explain. Not fear, not exactly. Something deeper. Because whatever her son knew, it had just stopped a man who feared nothing. And that meant one thing. This was only the beginning. Amara didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside their small room made her heart jump. The distant footsteps of guards, the creak of doors, even the whisper of wind through the cracked window. She sat on the edge of the bed, watching Kai as he slept like nothing had happened. How could he be so calm? How could a child stand in front of that man and speak like that? She leaned closer, brushing his hair gently. "What are you hiding from me?" she whispered. Kai didn't stir. Morning came too quickly. A loud knock slammed against their door. "Open." Amara froze. Her hands shook as she moved toward the door and opened it slowly. 2 guards stood there, faces expressionless. "The boss wants to see you," one of them said. Her throat went dry. "Me or both of you?" Her heart dropped. She turned back quickly, rushing to wake Kai. "Get up, now!" Kai opened his eyes immediately, like he had been awake all along. "They've come," he said softly. Amara paused. "You knew?" Kai sat up, stretching slightly. "Of course." Fear crept deeper into her chest. They were escorted through the mansion in silence. The halls felt longer than before, heavier. Servants avoided eye contact as they passed, whispering quietly behind their backs. "Look, that's them. The boy. They're finished." Amara held Kai's hand tighter. "Don't say anything," she whispered urgently. "No matter what happens, let me speak." Kai didn't respond. When they reached the main hall, the doors were already open. The boss was seated, not standing, not angry, just watching. That was worse. Amara dropped to her knees immediately, pulling Kai down with her. "Sir, please forgive him. He's just a child. He didn't mean any—" "Stand up." His voice cut her off instantly. She hesitated. "I said, stand up." Slowly, she rose to her feet, her grip tightening around Kai's hand. The boss leaned back slightly, studying them. "You didn't run." Amara blinked. "Sir?" "Most people would have tried to escape after what happened yesterday." Her voice trembled. "There's nowhere to run, sir." A faint smirk touched his lips. "Good answer." His eyes shifted to Kai. "You," he said. "Come closer." Amara's grip tightened. "Sir, please." "Let him go." It wasn't loud, but it was final. Her fingers slowly released Kai's hand. "Remember what I said. Don't speak unless—" Kai stepped forward. Amara's words died in her throat. He walked calmly across the room, stopping just a few steps away from the boss. Up close, the difference in power was overwhelming. One small child, one man who controlled everything. "Look at me," the boss said. Kai already was. That didn't go unnoticed. "Most people can't hold my gaze for more than a second. even grown men. Kai tilted his head slightly. Maybe they're scared of the wrong things. A murmur moved through the guards. The boss raised a hand slightly. Silence returned instantly. "What do you mean by that?" he asked. Kai shrugged. "Being strong doesn't mean you're not in danger." The boss's eyes narrowed. "Are you saying I'm in danger?" Kai didn't answer directly. Instead, he glanced around the room, at the guards, the doors, the windows, then back at the boss. "You should check the people around you." A heavy silence followed. One of the guards stepped forward immediately. "Boss, this is getting out of hand. Let me remove—" "Stay where you are." The boss didn't look at him, but the guard froze instantly. The boss stood up slowly this time. He walked toward Kai, each step measured, controlled, dangerous. When he stopped in front of him, the room felt like it stopped breathing. "You talk too much," he said quietly. Kai didn't move. "So let's make this simple," the boss continued. "You said you've seen me before." "Yes." "Where?" Kai looked at him for a long second, then said, "You were bleeding." The boss didn't react, not outwardly, but something shifted. "Continue," he said. "There was rain," Kai added. "You were on the ground. You couldn't stand." Amara's eyes widened from across the room. How would he know that? She whispered to herself. The boss's voice dropped lower. "Who told you this?" "No one." "Then how do you know?" Kai blinked slowly. "You were there." The boss's jaw tightened. "That's impossible." Kai didn't argue. He just said, "You begged." The word hit the room like a shockwave. Several guards looked at each other. No one spoke. "You should be careful," Kai added softly. "Someone there didn't want you to survive." That was it. The boss turned sharply. "Everyone out." The command came instantly, no hesitation. The guards exchanged quick looks but obeyed immediately, filing out of the room. "Not you," he added, pointing at Amara. She froze. The doors closed. Now it was just the three of them. The boss walked slowly back to his seat, his eyes never leaving Kai. "Say that again," he said quietly. Kai didn't hesitate. "That night," he said calmly, "someone wanted you dead, and they're still here." Amara's breathing became uneven. "Kai, stop!" "Let him speak." The boss's voice was sharper now, more focused, more dangerous, but not angry. Interested. "Who?" the boss asked. Kai shook his head. "I don't know their name." "Then what do you know?" Kai looked toward the door, then back at the boss. "They're close to you." Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Then the boss let out a slow breath. "You expect me to believe a child can see things no one else can?" Kai shrugged lightly. "You already do." The boss didn't respond, because it was true. He turned his attention to Amara. "Where did you come from?" She hesitated. I was brought here for work, sir." "That's not what I asked." Her heart pounded. "I don't know anything about what he's saying. He's not just anything." The boss's voice cut her off again. His eyes moved back to Kai, and for the first time, there was something new in them. Not anger, not dominance, suspicion. "From today," he said slowly, "you and your son will not work with the other servants." Amara blinked. "Sir?" "You'll stay close." "Close to what?" The boss leaned back in his chair. "To me." The words hung in the air, and suddenly being noticed felt far more dangerous than being ignored. Kai didn't look surprised, but Amara felt it immediately. Whatever had started yesterday was no longer under their control. Amara felt the shift immediately. Being invisible had kept her alive. Being noticed, that was different. That was dangerous in ways she didn't understand yet. "Sir, please," she said carefully, forcing her voice to stay steady. "My son is young. He doesn't understand the things he says. If we've offended you, we will keep our distance." "You misunderstand me," the boss interrupted, his tone calm but firm. "I don't want distance." That made it worse. Kai stepped slightly closer to her, but his eyes remained on the boss. "You want answers," Kai said quietly. The boss's gaze sharpened. "And you think you have them?" "I know enough." Amara squeezed Kai's shoulder. "Stop saying that." But the boss raised a hand, not to strike, but to silence her. "Enough," he said. Then to Kai, "If I keep you close, you will tell me what you know." Kai didn't answer immediately. The room felt heavy again. Then he nodded once. "If you listen." A faint smile touched the boss's lips. "You're in no position to give conditions." Kai's expression didn't change. "Then you won't get the truth." That did it. For a second, the air snapped tight, like something was about to break. Amara's breath caught. "Kai!" But instead of anger, the boss let out a low chuckle. "You speak like someone much older," he said. "It's either courage or stupidity." Kai tilted his head slightly. "You're still alive, so I guess it's not stupidity." The room went still. Then the boss laughed again, short, sharp, unexpected. "Good," he said. "I like that." Amara stared in disbelief. No one spoke to him like this. No one survived speaking to him like this. "From today, you will stay in the main wing." Her heart jumped. "Sir?" "You'll clean my office, prepare my meals, and the boy," his eyes flicked to Kai, "he stays where I can see him." Her chest tightened. "Sir, please, he's just a child. He doesn't belong in—" "He belongs wherever I say he belongs." That ended it. She lowered her head. "Yes, sir." Kai didn't look bothered. If anything, he looked like he expected it. They were moved that same day. The new room was larger, cleaner, closer to the heart of the mansion, but the comfort didn't matter. What mattered was the feeling. Eyes everywhere. Guards stationed nearby at all times. Doors that never fully closed. Amara moved carefully, doing her work with precision, saying as little as possible. Every step felt watched. Every mistake felt like it could be their last. Kai, on the other hand, moved like nothing had changed. He explored the halls, studied the guards, watched everything. Too much. "Kai," Amara whispered one evening, pulling him aside, "you need to stop." "Stop what?" "This," she said, her voice tight. "Talking like you know things, looking at people like that. You're drawing attention." Kai looked at her calmly. "We already have it. That doesn't mean you make it worse." He didn't argue. He just said, "He won't hurt you anymore." Amara's expression cracked slightly. "You don't know that." Kai's voice softened. "I do." Before she could respond, a voice echoed from down the hall. "Boy." They both turned. The boss stood at the far end, hands behind his back, watching. "Come here." Her heart jumped. "I'll come with him." "I didn't call you." Kai stepped forward without hesitation. "Don't go alone," she whispered quickly. Kai glanced back at her. "I won't be alone." Something about the way he said it sent a chill through her. He walked down the hall, each step echoing softly. When he stopped in front of the boss, he didn't look up. He didn't bow. He just waited. The boss studied him for a moment, then turned. "Walk with me." Kai followed. They moved through a quieter part of the mansion, away from the main areas where fewer people passed and the walls seemed thicker. "Tell me," the boss said as they walked, "what do you think of this place?" Kai looked around briefly. "It's controlled." The boss raised an eyebrow. "Controlled?" "Everything moves the way you want it to," Kai said. "People talk when you allow it. They stop when you don't." "And that's a problem?" Kai shrugged. "It means you don't see everything." The boss slowed his steps slightly. "Explain." Kai pointed subtly toward a corridor behind them. "That guard, he looked at you differently." The boss didn't turn around, but his eyes darkened slightly. Different how? Not afraid. That was enough. They continued walking in silence for a few seconds. Then the boss spoke again. "You notice a lot for a child." Kai didn't respond. They reached a door at the end of the hall. The boss opened it. Inside was his office, dark, quiet, organized. Kai stepped in slowly. "You'll sit there," the boss said, pointing to a chair. Kai sat. The boss walked behind his desk, watching him carefully. "You said someone here wants me dead." "Yes." "And you can help me find them?" Kai nodded once. "Why?" That question lingered. Kai looked at him directly. "Because you're not supposed to die yet." The boss's expression hardened slightly. "And who decides that?" Kai didn't answer. Instead, he said, "The night you were bleeding, you weren't alone." The boss leaned forward slightly. "Go on." "There was someone else," Kai said, "watching." The boss's fingers tapped lightly on the desk. "Who?" Kai's eyes shifted, just for a second, toward the door, then back. "You trust too easily," he said. The boss followed his gaze, then stood up slowly and walked to the door. He opened it suddenly. A guard stood there, too close. The guard straightened immediately. "Boss, I was just—" "Leave." The guard hesitated. That was the mistake. "Now." The guard walked away quickly. The boss closed the door again, slower this time. When he turned back, his expression had changed. Colder, sharper, more aware. "You're not lying," he said. Kai didn't respond. The boss walked back to his desk. "From now on," he said, "you don't leave my sight unless I say so." Kai nodded. "And if you're wrong," he let the sentence hang. Kai met his gaze. "I'm not." For the first time in a long time, the boss believed someone without proof, and that made everything more dangerous, because if a child could see what he couldn't, then the threat inside his house was already closer than he thought. Amara knew something was wrong the moment Kai didn't come back immediately. Minutes stretched longer than they should have. The hallway outside felt too quiet, too still, like the mansion itself was holding its breath. She stood near the doorway, pretending to clean, but her eyes stayed fixed on the direction he had gone. "Focus," one of the senior maids snapped quietly as she passed, "or do you want trouble again?" Amara lowered her head. No. But her heart wasn't in the work. It was with her son. Finally, footsteps echoed. She turned sharply. Kai, walking beside the boss. Her chest tightened instantly. They weren't speaking, but something about the silence between them felt different. Not hostile, not relaxed. Something in between. The boss stopped a few feet away from her. "You," he said. Amara dropped what she was holding and bowed slightly. "Yes, sir." "From now on, you don't leave the main wing without permission." Her stomach dropped. "Sir, I—" "And the boy stays with me during the day." "No." The word slipped out before she could stop it. The room froze. Even Kai looked at her. Amara's breath caught. "I mean, sir, please. He's just a child. He needs to stay with me. I can work better if—" "You'll work exactly how I say," the boss replied coldly. Her hands clenched tightly. "Please, don't take him away from me." The boss's gaze hardened. "I'm not taking him away," he said slowly. "I'm keeping him alive." That hit her harder than anything else. She hesitated. "Do you understand what that means?" he added. Amara swallowed. "No, sir." "It means," he said, stepping closer, "if what he's saying is true, then someone in this house is already watching him." A chill ran down her spine. Her eyes moved instinctively around the room. The other maids quickly looked away. "That's not possible," she whispered. The boss didn't respond, because he didn't need to. Kai stepped forward slightly. "It is." Amara turned to him. "Stop saying that!" Kai didn't flinch. They were near the door, listening. The boss's eyes flickered. "You're sure?" Kai nodded. Amara's voice dropped, almost breaking. "Who would listen to a child?" "Someone who's afraid of what I might say," Kai replied. Silence followed. Then the boss made his decision. "He stays with me," he said again. "That's final." Amara's shoulders dropped slightly. Not in defeat, in fear. Because this wasn't punishment anymore. This was something else. Something bigger. "Go back to your work," the boss added. She nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." But as Kai walked past her, she grabbed his hand for just a second. "Be careful," she whispered. Kai looked up at her. "I always am." That didn't comfort her. It scared her more. The day moved differently after that. Kai was no longer just a servant's child. He was seen, watched, measured. Every guard seemed more alert when he passed. Every whisper felt sharper. Inside the boss's office, the atmosphere was tense. Kai sat quietly in the same chair as before, his legs still, his eyes observing everything. The boss worked at his desk, but his attention wasn't fully on the papers in front of him. "Say it again," he said suddenly. Kai didn't look up. "Which part?" "The part about someone being close to me." Kai lifted his gaze slowly. "They don't act like the others. They don't avoid you. They watch you." "That doesn't narrow it down," the boss replied. Kai shook his head. "It does. You just haven't noticed." The boss leaned back slightly, studying him. "And you have?" Kai nodded once. "Then tell me." Kai's eyes shifted briefly toward the window, then back.
"Not yet." The boss's jaw tightened. "You're testing my patience." Kai's voice stayed calm. "If I say it now, they'll move." That made sense. Too much sense. The boss didn't like it. "Then what do you suggest?" he asked. Kai leaned back slightly in the chair. "We wait." The boss's lips pressed into a thin line. "I don't wait." "You will," Kai said, "if you want the truth." The room fell silent again. The boss stared at him for a long moment, then exhaled slowly. "You're either very brave or very dangerous." Kai didn't respond. A knock came at the door. The boss's head turned instantly. "Enter!" The door opened. A man stepped in. Not a guard, not a servant, dressed sharply, confident. "Boss," he said with a slight nod, "you called for the reports." Kai's eyes moved to him immediately. Something shifted, small but real. The boss noticed. "Come in," he said. The man walked closer, placing a file on the desk. All shipments accounted for, no issues. The boss nodded slightly, flipping it open, but his attention wasn't on the pages. It was on Kai. The boy hadn't looked away from the man, not once. "What?" the boss asked quietly. Kai didn't answer. The man glanced at him briefly, then back at the boss. "Something wrong?" he asked. Kai finally spoke. "Where were you 3 nights ago?" The question dropped like a stone. The man blinked. "Excuse me?" Kai's gaze didn't waver. "3 nights ago," he repeated. "Where were you?" The boss slowly closed the file. Now he was interested. The man let out a small chuckle. "Is this some kind of joke?" "No," Kai said. The man's expression hardened slightly. "Boss, I don't think—" "Answer him." The boss's voice was calm, but absolute. The man hesitated, just for a second. "I was here," he said. "Where else would I be?" Kai tilted his head. "You're lying." The room froze. The man's eyes darkened. "Watch your mouth." Kai didn't react. "You weren't here," he said. "You were outside." The boss's fingers tapped slowly across the desk. "Outside doing what?" The man's jaw tightened. "The kind you trust me with." Silence. Tension. Kai leaned forward slightly. "You didn't expect him to survive," he said softly. That was it. The man moved, fast, too fast. His hand went inside his jacket, but the boss was faster. A gun was already pointed at him. "Don't." The word was deadly. The man froze. Slowly, carefully, his hand stopped moving. The room felt like it was about to explode. "Take your hand out," the boss ordered. The man obeyed. Empty, but the damage was done. The boss's eyes were no longer calm. They were cold, focused, dangerous.
"Leave," he said. The man didn't argue. He stepped back slowly, then turned and walked out. The door closed. Silence followed. Then the boss looked at Kai. "You just made an enemy." Kai didn't look worried. He already was one. The boss stared at him, and for the first time, the game inside his own house had truly begun. The moment the door closed behind the man, the silence in the office turned heavy. The boss didn't move. His gun was still raised slightly, his eyes fixed on the door like he could see through it. Kai sat still, watching him.
"You should have stayed quiet," he said. Kai didn't respond, but his eyes followed him until the door closed. Silence returned, heavier than before. The boss turned slowly. "You," he said to Amara. She stiffened. "Yes, sir?" "Leave us." Her grip on Kai tightened. "Sir, Now." She hesitated, then leaned down quickly to Kai. "Don't say anything else," she whispered urgently. "Please." Kai didn't answer. She walked out, the door closing behind her. Now it was just the two of them again. The boss sat down slowly, his eyes fixed on Kai. "You've changed everything," he said. Kai blinked. It was already changing. The boss leaned forward slightly. "Listen to me carefully," he said. "If you're wrong about any of this, you won't live long enough to regret it." Kai met his gaze. "I know." "And if you're right," he paused, then said quietly, "then neither will they." The air shifted again, not tense, not uncertain, decided. Kai sat back slightly. "They're going to move soon," he said. The boss's eyes narrowed. "How soon?" Kai looked toward the door again. "Very soon." Almost on cue, a loud noise echoed from somewhere in the mansion, a crash, followed by shouting. The boss stood instantly. "That's not normal," he muttered. Kai stood too. "They've started." The boss grabbed his gun again, his expression turning sharp and focused. "Stay here," he ordered. Kai shook his head. "No." The boss turned. "This is not a game." Kai's voice didn't shake. "You won't see it if I'm not there." A pause. Then more shouting echoed through the halls, closer this time. The boss made his decision. "Stay behind me," he said. Kai nodded. The door opened, and chaos poured in. Guards running, servants screaming, orders being shouted over each other. The calm control of the mansion was gone, replaced by confusion, fear, movement. The boss stepped into the hallway, his presence cutting through the noise. "What's happening?" he demanded. One of the guards rushed forward. "Boss, there's been an attack inside the East Wing." "From who?" "We don't know." The boss's grip tightened on his weapon. Kai stepped slightly forward, scanning the movement around them. "They're not outside," he said. The boss glanced at him. "They're already here." And suddenly, every face in the hallway looked like a suspect. The hallway erupted into movement. Guards rushed past, shouting over each other, weapons drawn, eyes scanning every corner. Servants pressed themselves against the walls, some trembling, others trying to disappear. But the boss didn't move blindly. He stood still for a second, watching, thinking. "Lock the exits," he ordered sharply. "No one leaves this mansion." "Yes, boss." "Seal the East Wing. I want every corridor covered." Commands echoed as men scattered to carry them out. Kai stood just behind him, eyes moving from face to face. "They're not running," he said. The boss glanced at him. "Why wouldn't they?" Kai answered quietly, "Because they don't need to." A pause. "What do you mean?" Kai stepped slightly forward, lowering his voice. "This isn't an escape." A pause. "It's a distraction." The boss's expression darkened instantly. "For what?" Kai's eyes shifted, then stopped. Down the hallway. "Watch," he said quietly. That made all three men pause, just for a second, and that second was enough. The boss moved, not toward the guards, but sideways, fast. One shot rang out, then another. Chaos exploded in the narrow corridor. One of the guards fired, but the shot missed as the boss slammed into him, knocking his aim off.
The second guard tried to adjust. Too slow. The boss struck hard, disarming him in one sharp motion. The weapon clattered to the ground. The first guard lunged again, but Kai's voice cut through the noise. "Behind you!" The boss reacted instantly, ducking as a shot came from the end of the hallway. The man had fired, missed, barely. The boss grabbed the nearest guard, pulling him into the line of fire as another shot rang out. The man cursed under his breath. The second guard tried to recover, but the boss didn't give him the chance. A sharp strike, a twist. The guard dropped. The hallway filled with heavy breathing. One down, one struggling, one still standing at the end. The man's calm had cracked slightly now. "You're faster than I expected," he admitted. The boss straightened slowly, his weapon now firmly in his hand again. "You should have aimed better," he replied coldly. The man's eyes flicked again to Kai, still watching, still calm. "That boy," he muttered. "Don't," the boss warned. The man smiled faintly. "He's the problem, not you." Kai stepped forward slightly. "You shouldn't have come inside," he said. The man laughed once, low, "And you shouldn't have spoken." Another shot rang out, but this time it wasn't from him. A guard from behind, loyal. The man staggered slightly as the bullet hit his shoulder. He didn't fall, but he wasn't smiling anymore. More footsteps echoed, more guards arriving, this time the right ones. The man looked around quickly, calculating, then back at Kai. "This isn't over," he said. Kai didn't respond. The boss stepped forward, weapon steady. "It is for you." The man hesitated, then suddenly turned and ran. 2 shots followed. He stumbled, but disappeared around the corner. "After him!" one of the guards shouted. They rushed past. The hallway fell into a strange silence again. The boss didn't chase. He stood there, breathing steady, eyes locked on the direction the man escaped. Then he turned, slowly, to Kai. "You knew," he said. Kai nodded once. The boss studied him for a long moment, then said quietly, "You just saved my life." Kai didn't react. "You're still in danger." The boss's expression hardened again. "I know." But now, it wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was war, inside his own house. The mansion didn't calm down after that. If anything, it got worse. Guards flooded every hallway, checking doors, searching rooms, questioning everyone. No one moved freely anymore. Every face carried tension, every step felt watched. But at the center of it all, one thing was clear. The boss was no longer guessing. He knew, and that changed everything. Kai stood quietly in the office again, the same chair, the same stillness, but the air was different now. He wasn't just a child sitting there anymore. He was the reason the truth had started to surface. The boss stood by the window, looking out over the compound, his jaw tight. "They were inside for too long," he said. "That doesn't happen without help." Kai didn't respond immediately. "They built trust," he said finally. "Then they waited." The boss nodded slowly. "And now they've made their move." Kai looked at him. "No," he said, "that wasn't the move." The boss turned. "What do you mean?" Kai's eyes didn't waver. "That was a test." A pause. "For what?" "To see how much you know and how fast you react." The boss's expression darkened. "And now they know both." Silence filled the room again. Then a knock came. "Enter." The door opened, and Amara rushed in, her face pale, her breathing uneven. "Kai, are you all right? I heard gunshots. People are saying—" She stopped when she saw the boss standing there. "Sir?" "You're safe," the boss said, his tone calmer than before. "For now." That didn't comfort her. She moved quickly to Kai, placing her hands on his shoulders, scanning him.
"Are you hurt?" Kai shook his head. "No." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "We need to leave, tonight, before this gets worse." The boss heard it. "No one leaves," he said firmly. Amara turned to him, desperation in her eyes. "Sir, please, this isn't our fight. We didn't ask for this. My son is just a child." "Your son," the boss interrupted, "is the only reason you're both still alive." That stopped her. She looked at Kai, then back at him. "You expect me to keep him here?" she asked, her voice shaking. "In the middle of this?" "I expect you to understand the situation. If they know what he can do, they won't let him walk out of here." A cold realization settled in her chest. "They'll come for him," she whispered. "Yes." The room went still. Amara pulled Kai closer instinctively. "No," she said. "No, I won't let that happen." Kai gently held her arm. "It's already happening," he said softly. Her eyes filled with fear. The boss stepped forward slightly. "Listen to me," he said. "From now on, no one moves alone. Not you, not him." Amara hesitated. "You're asking me to trust you?" The boss didn't answer immediately. Then he said quietly, "I'm asking you to survive." That was enough. She lowered her head slightly. "Then keep your word," she said. "I always do." Before anything else could be said, another knock. Urgent this time. "Boss, speak. There's been another breach, West Wing this time." The boss's eyes hardened. "How many?" "We're not sure. 3, maybe 4?" Kai shook his head. "More." The guard frowned. "What?" "They're spreading out. They want confusion." The boss nodded once. "Call everyone back. No more chasing shadows. We regroup." The guard nodded quickly and left. The boss turned back to Kai. "Where?" Kai didn't hesitate. "The main hall." "Why there?" "Because it's the only place they can't hide. Too open, too visible." The boss grabbed his weapon again. "Then that's where we end it." Amara's heart pounded. "You're going into that?" "We all are," the boss replied. Kai stepped forward. "They're waiting for you there." The boss looked at him. "Good." They moved quickly. The mansion felt different now. Not like a home, not like a place of power, but a battlefield. When they reached the main hall, it was already filling with guards, weapons ready, eyes alert. The tension was thick. "Positions," the boss ordered. Everyone spread out, covering angles, watching every entrance. Amara stayed close to Kai, her hand gripping his tightly. "Stay behind me," she whispered. Kai didn't argue. Seconds passed. Then, footsteps from multiple directions. 4 figures stepped into the hall, slow, confident, not hiding anymore. The man from before was among them, his shoulder wrapped, his expression colder now. "You should have run." The boss stepped forward. "You should have finished the job." The man smirked faintly. "We're finishing it now." The room tightened, weapons raised. Kai's voice broke through the tension. "You've already lost." All eyes turned to him. The man laughed softly. "And why is that?" Kai stepped slightly forward. "Because you waited too long." A pause. Then the boss spoke. "Now." Everything exploded at once. Gunfire, shouts, movement. The hall filled with chaos. But this time, it was controlled. The boss's men were ready. The attackers tried to move, to flank, to create confusion, but there was none. Every angle covered, every move anticipated. One by one, they fell. The man tried to retreat, but the exit was already blocked. He stopped, breathing hard, defeated. The boss walked towards him slowly, weapons steady. "It's over." The man laughed weakly. "You think this ends here? It does for you." A pause. Then the man's eyes shifted to Kai. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "Not for him." The boss didn't hesitate. The shot echoed, and the man dropped. Silence followed, heavy, final. The boss lowered his weapon slowly, then turned to Kai,
to Amara. The war inside his house was over, but something else had begun. He walked towards them, stopping just a few feet away. "You were right," he said. Kai didn't respond. "You saw what I couldn't." A pause. Then the boss added quietly, "That makes you valuable." Amara's grip tightened, but before she could speak, Kai said softly, "We're leaving." The boss looked at him for a long second. Then he nodded. "No one will stop you." Amara blinked in surprise. "Sir? You don't belong here," he said, "and neither does he." Kai took her hand, and this time they walked away. Not as servants, not as victims, but as something else entirely. Something even the most feared man in the house had learned not to stand against. If this story kept you hooked till the end, don't forget to like the video, drop a comment telling me what you think Kai really is, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one, because the next one might be even deeper.